So the world has been updated to 1.21.4, and we have the new Pale Garden. This is really the first time I've seen any of these new blocks, and for what I can tell, they're pretty cool. So it doesn't look like you need any shears to mine these things as long as you have Silk Touch, which is pretty convenient because I did forget shears. But there's just so many little knickknacks to check out. So I've been looking around for a minute, and I'm struggling to find the new flower. But we do have a new type of moss, which is interesting. Oh, here we go. So we do have this new type of flower, and it does open up and become an orange flower during the night. So we're gonna have to wait for the night. It shouldn't be too long now. Okay, the sun is about to set, so we'll be able to find the creaking in just a moment. But just in case, I'm gonna be wearing my chest plate. Uh-oh. Even though it's not night, they did spawn already. So we have one right here. There's some others too. Ow! You weren't supposed to do that. Okay, it's creaking heart. Ow. It's supposed to be. Oh. It's all the way over in this tree. See, we have some resin on it, on the tree now. Get some more. Now we have some resin clumps. Ow. Oops. Well, I forgot to use a Silk Touch tool to mine it, but you get the gist. Okay, so you see the flowers have now opened up to be orange, which is pretty cool. Though I am interested in getting a creaking heart and not destroying it this time. Right here. Oh, so we found another one. We found where its heart is. Ow. Oh. So it's being ganged up on. Okay. Oh. You also get XP from, even if you don't use Fortune, you still get the block, which is very interesting. Look at that. Right, so I'm pretty sure that's the last creaking heart in the forest, and it is becoming day anyways. So we've pretty much gathered up everything this biome has to offer, and we have 4 creaking hearts from this little patch, which is pretty good, but it will be enough to start a farm. Okay, so we're back at base, and we can take some of the resin clumps we have and just craft some block of resins, and using this we can create some more hearts. So we can up our total to 7, which is still not a whole lot, but it will make everything faster. So looking at the new wood, I am pretty happy with what we got because we finally have a very white wood in this game. And as we can see when we compare to diorite, they're pretty much the same color. Even if the hue of the planks is a little bit more pink than the diorite, what's really important is that not only now do we have a new set of white planks, we also have new white trapdoors that go well with other white blocks. And what's so great about this is that for the longest time we've had this set of white blocks being diorite, which have walls and everything of the sort, but never something close in the color for trapdoors. And the closest of what we've ever had since then are birch trapdoors, and as you can see, the colors, while being fair enough, good enough, it still is far from perfect. But now we have these nice white trapdoors that we can build arches with, and everything is going to be great. So as you can see, we can now build these very nice white arches with these trapdoors serving as a nice smoother transition from walls or whatever to the stairs, as we can see in this example. And even if they are a little bit brighter than everything else, they still blend in very well, and if you weren't really looking for them, you wouldn't really notice them. And yes, we have had iron trapdoors for the longest time, and they are white. However, the necessity of having to power them somehow has always put them in a very limited use. And the logs that we got are also very great in their own right, specifically the stripped version, because it is this very nice white smooth texture, much like calcite or smooth quartz block. And it even serves as kind of a bridge and a gradient between these two blocks, because it is a lot less rough than calcite, but it's more rough than smooth quartz. So far away, it does provide this kind of gradient that can be used, which is also great. So the new trees are pretty great, and you can just easily farm them by planting and chopping down 2x2 dark oak trees. However, what's not as easy to farm are the new resin blocks, because you do need the resin clumps, and this is the total amount to our names. And so what we're going to do today is build up a little resin farm with all of these little goodies I've gathered up. So we got the nether portal linked up, and we started to build out the main part of the farm, where we can see over here we'll have the main central mechanism where we actually get the resin, and we have our platforms where the creakings can spawn and then fall into this hole where, if we can just go down here, they eventually empty out to an area where we can hit them, so the resin will spawn. So as I said, this is where the creaking hearts are going to be. And instead of placing them where we alternate the logs and the hearts like this, we can see that only half of the blocks are going to be creaking hearts when we have this big stack that we're going to build. So we're going to employ a little trick where we take our creaking hearts, and instead of putting them vertical, we're going to put them sideways. And we can do this as long as we have the logs facing the same way. But since we don't want this log texture poking out, the inside white area, we're going to instead be using wood, which works just as well. And so we're going to continue stacking it up like this until we go and use up all our hearts. So as the sun sets, we expect to see a few creaking spawn around these platforms, and then there they go. A couple of them, and then when we stop looking at them, they should attack us and then fall in the holes as per designed. And they do have some difficulty falling in these little streams, but we can just look at them to make them stop moving. And that pretty much clears it up. And so, pretty sure all of them have fell down into the little chamber where we can hit them. So all I have to do is come down here and then swipe away. So when we go into free cam, we can see how the farm works. And we can press H to control our character, and I'm going to start swiping. And we can see that every time I swipe, the little particles goes to this pillar, and more resin spawns. And so we can see that the pillar is pretty much completely filled up with resin, and there's not much room for it. And so we set up a hopper clock, a classic hopper clock, though it is shut off right now, to control the farm in order to push pistons up and down. But right now we can just trigger this target block to get it going at least once. And we can see all the resin falls off, though it does not all of them fall into the hopper, some of them fall overboard, but we will contain the entire thing with glass, so that shouldn't happen anymore. And from just that we got 26, not including the ones that fell into the hoppers, which is another 32, and that doesn't even include the ones that fell over. And so all we have to do now is just encase this with glass, add in something at the top to push the logs back down, and then repeat it 2 more times to complete each of these 3 modules. But for the time being, what we can do is take our collected resin in order to make even more resin hearts, so we can have enough hearts to complete the entire farm. So the farm is pretty much all finished now, and there have been a few minor issues with specifically where the creakings are spawning. It is fully functional now, and it has been working out pretty great. And so, see that with all 3 of these towers done, we do have a lot more creakings here. And it does look like they're bunching up a little bit, maybe a little bit too much, though it won't be that huge of an issue. So with enough wrangling, I did get them all mostly in, besides these few that are spawned on the redstone, which I didn't assume they could do, but we can fix that later. And so I'm just gonna spend the night farming up and hitting them, and we'll see how much resin we get in the morning. Alright, so it is the morning now, and we will now see how much resin we got. Anyway, there was a backup, and it has now all drained down, and this is what we got just for a little over 10 minutes of farming, which is pretty good, all things considered. And I'm just going to put them up in a shulker box and then take it with me. So we're over here on top of the main base, and we don't really spend a lot of time here, mostly because these buildings are almost completely empty, because all the magic happens down in the storage system below. And so today I thought it would be a good idea to spend some time here for a little bit to build something that has been sorely missing. And what we're going to do is just dig out a little hole here. Then all we have to do is just place some dispensers facing the right way. Facing the right way. Like this. Then I'm going to add crying obsidian and then a pressure plate, some lighting and color, and then top it back off. Alright, so I dug up a little hole through the roof here, and what this mechanism will allow us to do is just jump up really high in the sky so we don't have to waste precious fireworks. And so let's just give it a go. We have to make sure that we align ourselves pretty well here. Oh, there we missed. And then we get launched up. And so now we don't have to use any fireworks, as this advancement alludes to. Alright, so we're over here at this little city area we've built up recently, and today we're going to be spending the remaining amount of time here. And what I think we're going to be doing is building up a new pumpkin farm over here. I have cleared out a massive area over here for a building I've already designed, but since Lightmatica has not been updated to 1.21.4, I decided to go and build a different building over here the old-fashioned way. So I've already gathered up most of what we're going to need to build this. I'm not sure exactly because, again, Lightmatica has not been updated. However, this is at least enough to get us started. So why don't we just hit that time lapse? So the first floor is pretty much done, and for the first time we have an interior. And even though it is pretty bare bones right now, we'll get to it eventually. However, what we do have is this wall of barrels, which has hoppers behind it. And And the reason why we have these barrels and the reason why we don't have anything besides this first floor is because the point of these buildings are not just to be pretty, it's also to have functionality behind it. So for this building we have a cactus farm, and for this building we have some bee farms. And for this building, what we're going to do is stack on a pumpkin farm on top of here. And that will allow us to get a bunch of pumpkins, a bunch of bone meal, and hopefully that would be good. So if we look in our redstone chest, we have all the materials necessary, and we can just get on into doing it. So the building and the farm are pretty much done here, and I am happy with how it turned out. So let's go inside to look at what we did with the interior. It is a bit plain, but I'm happy with what we got. And so for these little display areas, we have the pumpkin pie because this is a pumpkin farm, and we do have these new resin clumps, acting as little crumbs or whatever small pumpkin treats this store may offer. In here, we also have this painting, and it may look like a regular painting. However, it is possible to go up behind it where we have access to our cactus farm if we ever need that. But how does this pumpkin farm work? You can take a look here with the free cam. You can see it's just the classic pumpkin farm design where the observer alerts the piston whenever the pumpkin stem changes its state because it grows into a pumpkin block, as we just saw there. It alerts it by this redstone, and the pumpkin falls on the ground, which is eventually picked up by this minecart. And the minecart's pretty special because, as we can see, it falls down, which was necessary in order to fit it in this like very tight space. And the way it goes up is through this water elevator all the way to the top of the farm. And if we continue watching it, it will just go and fall down again to the next layer, and then to the next layer, and before going up again. And the minecart eventually empties out into this little hopper area, and the hoppers pull all the pumpkins from the minecart and puts them into these barrels. As we can see, we already gathered up quite a bit, so probably more pumpkins than we'll ever need, and we can just turn the rest into bone meal. As for the building itself, I did try to use some blocks I've never used before, so the dripstone and light gray terracotta aren't really used much, and probably never by me. And for the colors of the building, I did try to use a lot of oranges and a lot of greens, so it represents the pumpkins that are being produced on the inside. You may have been able to notice that there is a giant gaping hole on the side of our building, and what I plan on doing here is creating a mural of this new painting they added in 1.21. And so let's just get straight to it. And so we're here with the building pretty much 100% done now, and I really like how it turned out, especially with this beautiful mural we have here. And it's going to be pretty special because we're going to have a little alleyway here, so this side of the building will be exposed. And so when you're walking down the alleyway, or walking down the street really, you're going to see a flash of this color, and I think it's going to add a lot to the ambiance of the city. With that being said, let's get straight to the comment of the day and wrap things up. This one is from TechnoKillas1000, and he says, bundles are now actually added to the game, and they bring more into helping solve inventory issues. And I couldn't agree more. So right now, with these bundles, we have them now colored, and we have these very vibrant colors for the bundles, so we can now differentiate themselves. And it's especially useful now because a lot of the time when you're playing Minecraft, you're carrying around an ender chest. I know I do. And you could also need things like a crafting table when you're building even a stone cutter, or maybe some leads every now and then. And with using the new bundles, what we can do is just go ahead and shove all these things into the same bundle. And it's better now because the interface actually allows us to go and scroll to select what we want. And so if we ever need an ender chest, all we have to do is just right click it out, and then we have our new ender chest, and it just saves a lot of space, and it's very convenient because we can have whatever we want whenever we need it. Another useful tip for bundles is that we can use lodestones and compasses to track locations so you can't get lost, and you can also put these compasses in the bundles themselves, and you can kind of have a display. And as you can see, the bundles still pretty much do still work in the bundle, so you can have a display of all your important builds so you can never really get lost. You can also put in a clock in there if you ever need to tell the time for some reason, and you can also put in a recovery compass or something like that. And so you can have this very useful bundle showing you a lot of information that you may need to know. Anyways, that was the first comment of the day that was actually a comment on one of my videos. And so thank you, TechnoKillas1000. You will be remembered in this way. And if you want me to respond to one of your comments or you have any big ideas, just leave them down below. And especially if you have made it all this way through the video, I do thank you for that. And I hope you guys have a good day. Thank you. This is the end of the video.